Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Q&A with horror authors. I'm Tim Meyer. I'm going to moderate this panel of lovely people we have here. First, before we get started, I figured we'd go around and introduce ourselves. Like I said, I'm Tim Meyer. I write mostly horror, mysteries, thrillers. Chuck, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Chuck Buda, and I write horror stories, supernatural to occult to supernatural westerns and psychological thrillers like serial killers. And I'm working on some middle grade erotica. So
interesting. Matt?
I'm Matt Hayward. I wrote What the Monsters Fear. My first novel came out in July. My first collection came out in Sinister Green Press in May, and I have a collaboration with Patrick Lacey coming out in next summer.
Cool. And Patrick?
My name is Patrick Lacey, and I am also a horror author. I have two novels, Dreamwoods, which is a haunted amusement park novel, and We Came Back, which is a teenage cult novel. And then I have a novel coming out next year at some point about a movie monster coming to life called Bonesaw. And then, as Matt so graciously mentioned, we have a co-authored novel coming out next July, I want to say, which isn't official, so I probably shouldn't have mentioned that month, but so that will be good.
Excellent. We'll probably dive into that later. So I figure we'll just start off by telling people how we're going to work this. If you have any questions, anything for us, you want to comment, there's a chat on the video screen on the YouTube channel to the right of the picture. You could put your comments and questions in there, or on the Facebook page that we created, the question and answers horror authors. So Matt, I know you wanted to start the discussion off and talk about some things, some Halloween things, since we're in the Halloween season and we're horror authors, so it kind of goes together. So Matt, what did you have for us? What did you want to talk about first?
Yeah, I saw somebody post on Facebook recently about Norman Partridge. His his novel. I can't remember the name of it.
Dark Harvest.
Yes.
Dark Harvest. That's the one that I read that for Halloween like 2 years ago, and it sort of epitomized Halloween for our writing. For me, it's a fantastic novel. It's all in second person, which is a big feat, I think. Mm-hmm. Your sort of penultimate horror novel for Halloween would be?
So for me personally, I really like Ray Bradbury stuff. A lot of his Halloween stuff that he's written kind of really captures the season. Same thing with Richard Laman's A Night in Lonesome October, I believe it's called. That book is phenomenal in catching like the Halloween season, fall. And then recently I read The Halloween Children by, I forget, I want to say it's Norman Prentice wrote. There's two authors, I think Norman Prentice and somebody else. And that was pretty good too. So I'd say definitely the Laman novel and a lot of Bradbury stuff. Pat, what about you?
I was just going to say the exact same thing on the Laman aspect. I try and reread that every year, Night in the Lonesome October, because it's not even like just a Halloween novel. It just kind of captures like fall perfectly. So I try and reread that, and then I'll just try and read some like anything very atmospheric. For me, it doesn't have to be like actually Halloween related. So I just finished reading up a novella called The Twilight Pariah by Geoffrey Ford. And that came out through those like tour novellas that they're doing. And that was, again, it's like not, I think it takes place in, actually it takes place in summer, which completely ruins my argument, but it's just very like atmospheric and it kind of reminds me of fall. So that's kind of what I go to, is something a little bit more like tame and quiet, even though Laman is not known for his atmospheric stuff, but I think that novel is like a little bit on the quieter side compared to like something like The Beast House or something, so.
Absolutely.
Show you. I'll be back in a second too.
Oh, he's gonna, you know what? He's gonna brag about his Laman book on Live, which I'm ready to pull the bullet on my brag. So
No, I was actually just going to show you this. I picked it up 2 days ago. It's a hardback of Nights in Lonesome October.
Oh, look at that. Is that the headline edition?
Yep, I'm pretty sure it is.
So you kind of are bragging in a way. Well, you know my address, so just ship it over here. I don't mind.
Chuck, what about you? What do you what Halloween themed books do you enjoy?
That's a good one. You know, I like the Laman and the Bradbury as well. I've always been fond of Al Sarantonio's, and it's like a trilogy, Halloween Town, I think the name is. I read them a few years back, and those were pretty creepy. But to Prank Night by Christopher Ruffty and Dead Leaves by Burke. So, you know, the Halloween reads out there. It's hard to kind of narrow it down, but I think those are the ones that I always think of when I think the Halloween season.
Have you guys ever read, I think it's called All Hallows Eve by Brian Smith? Have you guys read that one?
No, that came out a couple years ago, right?
Yeah, I actually read it last year around this time, and it was really good. It was like a basic slasher, but you know, Brian Smith is a phenomenal writer, just the way he writes. I thought that book was incredible, so that would be another one I want to throw in there.
There's one that just popped in my head too. I actually am cheating on Google, but it's called Spook Night by David Robbins. So he was like more of like an action, like adventure type author, but he did a lot of horror novels in the late 80s and early 90s. And this one was about, it's essentially just a headless horseman on Halloween. It's completely derivative. There's nothing original in it, but it's just like that cheesy late 80s. I think it's Zebra, one of those. It might have been actually Warner, because he did have some fairly good success, but that one kind of like it shines in my mind. So I like that one a lot.
Cool.
Alan and Clark illustrated and Richard Laman wrote called The Halloween Mess. They wrote it together that I haven't read yet, but I really want to read that one.
Isn't that like a kid's book?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I have to track that down.
So one thing we forgot to do is talk about what we're drinking, because I noticed we're all drinking some tasty beverages, and let's talk about that for a second. Pat, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking, I actually have the bottle right here. Not my first beer of the night, folks, but this is New Belgium Voodoo Ranger, hot off the press. I actually just bought this like 10 minutes before we signed on. It's good. It's an IPA. It's decent. I had recently, by recently I mean like 5 minutes ago, finished off a fall beer by Harpoon called Flannel Friday, and it's a very crisp, malty beverage. But I vowed that that's going to be my last fall beverage of the year, because I'm just sick of it. So I'm going back to IPAs, which are, in theory, my favorite kind of beer. So.
Nice. Have you tried the Voodoo or the New Belgium, the pumpkin, atomic pumpkin, or whatever it's called?
Good stuff.
It's good. It's a little spicy. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I should have been, because I could have just read the label, but
well, that's the risk you take with some of the fall beers, is sometimes they legitimately taste like allspice.
Right.
Something I really want to be drinking. But no, that one is a little bit spicy, but I do like it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Matt, what about you? What are you drinking over there?
I'm drinking cans of Heineken because it's cheap and it's all my local pub does.
That's awesome.
Cheap beer. I drink Foster's, which is the lowest of the low over here, and I love it.
But they do a good pour of it there. I had one while I was there, and it was crisp. So
nice.
When I was in the States, I was drinking Pabst Blue Ribbon, which I love.
Yeah,
I love
PBR.
The cheaper it is, the better.
Chuck, what about you? What are you drinking?
I am drinking Demented Ale. So Demented is one of my favorite microbrews here in New Jersey. There's a whole bunch of microbrews, and I love a bunch of them, but Demented is my favorite, and I consider it my court type of beer. And they actually make a really good brown ale called Moon Reaper in cans. At least I don't believe it is. So I have the Scarlet Ale, which is a red. Love it.
I love their beer too. They're phenomenal. Something's taking place at Demented Brewery on November 18th, right? Something.
It is?
Yeah, I thought so.
I think you're thinking of Thanksgiving.
No.
My mistake.
Chuck has
You're talking about where a bunch of authors get together and act stupid and also sign books.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. Cool. So, all right. Don't see.
We gotta get Matt over here for that. Matt, come on over.
Definitely.
Is that for the signing thing that you guys are doing?
Yeah.
It's in New Jersey. You just have to fly to the States, and we'll put you up. We have plenty of rooms, and my son's in college, so you can stay in my house, and I'll drive you there, and just come hang out.
This I will definitely be at Rocket Shop next year, and I'll sleep in that bedroom, I think.
No, I'm skipping next year, so you can sleep outside my house. You're welcome to sleep outside.
Oh my god, that's awesome. So I'm drinking a homebrew that I actually made from a Mr. Beer kit, and it hasn't killed me yet, so that's a plus. So no bacteria in it, but it's supposed to be an IPA, like an American IPA, and it's a little sour because I pulled it a week early because I just really wanted to drink it. So, but it's not bad. I'm enjoying it.
How much percent does that come out to?
You know what? I don't even know because I didn't get like the tester thing, but it can't be much because I don't feel anything, and this is like my second one. So
okay, good to know.
It'd be great if we just got to watch Tim just descend into this insanity because of his own beer.
You just see me pass out like halfway broadcast. All right, so looks like we have 7 people watching us right now live, so that's pretty cool. No one's posting questions though yet, so we'll give them some time. And so Matt, what else did you have for us?
Horror movies. Let's go through. What is your ultimate Halloween horror movie playlist?
There's so many to choose from.
Well, this year alone, what's your
this year I watched Halloween 3 twice.
Oh, look at you!
For some reason, I don't know why. I might actually watch it again tonight. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how much homebrew I have. What else did I watch? My wife had never seen Hocus Pocus before, so I had to.
So you're a proponent of that movie? You like it?
I don't love it, but it's not bad. It's really dark.
It's really very dark, but I don't love it either. But it's one of those cases where nostalgia overrides everything else. Yeah. You have to watch it at least once every year, usually around Christmas.
And I didn't realize Mick Garris wrote the screenplay for it.
He did, yeah. Mick Garris of Critters 2 fame. So
yeah, and a bunch of Stephen King adaptations he's done. But yeah, he wrote I read an article where he actually had written like a darker version, an adult version, and then Disney, I guess, bought it and changed it and made it a kid version. Which you can kind of see how dark it is, especially in the beginning of the movie. It's pretty dark, so you can kind of see.
I have a weird crush on Sarah Jessica Parker in that movie that's also very nostalgic, but I'm not attracted to her in any other thing. And I was just telling Emily, my girlfriend, I was trying to explain this to her, and then I showed her a clip from it. And she's
I remember the very same thing when I was a kid, and I don't know if it's maybe it's just nostalgic. So I don't find her attractive, but Hocus Pocus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's faded a little bit with time. I'm more of a Bette Midler kind of guy now, but it's a good movie. So
it's pretty solid. Other than that, I started watching Stranger Things today, the second one. Got about 2 episodes in. So
is it good so far?
I like it. It's I think it's better than the first season, honestly.
Really?
The storylines are a little bit better. It's a little funnier, I think. I'm laughing a little bit more, and the creature in it is pretty sick. So,
okay.
We're still early into it, so, but we'll see. I hope to binge watch it all weekend. So,
good call.
But what about you, Patrick? What Halloween movies?
So I'm usually like a deep cut kind of guy, and I watch like movies that no one's ever heard of or that they're just universally maligned. But usually Halloween's like my chance to watch some like very popular ones. So I think this season I've done Pumpkinhead. I've done Halloween 3. I actually just finished that up the night before last. Trick or Treat, I'm currently watching. I'm like an old man, so I go to bed really early. So I watch movies in like 45-minute increments, which is great. So I never usually watch like a movie in one sitting. So I have about like 35 minutes left of that. I'm trying to think. Night of the Demons, which is my favorite all-time like Halloween movie. I love that movie to death.
The remake or the original?
The original, yeah. I mean, the remake's fine. I have no like hatred against it, but for my money, the original is like one of my. This is my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I like it way more than any human should. And then usually on Halloween night, I watch Carpenter's Halloween, of course, because that makes sense. And then the only like deep cut one I try and fit in is one I recently discovered in July called Hack-O-Lantern, which is just like an all-out crazy low budget. I think it's like 85. Movie about like a satanic cult on Halloween. It's like totally 80s. In the middle of it, there's like a music video for no reason. It's just like a full-on like hair metal music video. So if you can track it down, it came out on Massacre Video for the first time. I don't think it ever had a DVD release, but it's just the most gloriously 80s thing I've ever seen. So I would highly recommend that if you're looking for something a little bit more esoteric. So.
Very cool. Matt, what about you? What are you watching?
I'm trying to find the name of this movie I watched the other night, so let Chuck go for a minute because I just have to get the title of this first.
Chuck, what have you been watching?
Well, I also have a nostalgic me, and I love the original Halloween movies and Halloween 2 first, and because of that, I usually watch Halloween 2 that one first. Then I go back to part 1 because that was the order that I discovered the movies in when I was a youngster. So there's those, and then of course Christmas. Even though it's a Christmas movie with the monsters and Jack Skellington and the mood and everything of that Burton film, always makes me think of Halloween. So a favorite of mine around this time of year.
Cool. Matt?
I'm trying to find the title of this one. I can't find it. I stumbled across it.
Is it just Halloween? Is that...
I stumbled across it the other night, and it is honestly the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. It was one of those. It was so bad I couldn't look away. Watching it all the way through, and for that I ended up loving it. And I'm trying to find the name of it.
Is it one?
But an honest answer would be The Thing. I watched The Thing. So.
Funny story about The Thing. Oh, that's funny right there. It's actually playing on 35 millimeter in like an hour-ish. But I skipped that to do this live broadcast. So
whoa!
Just throwing that out there right
wow.
now. It's a rare print too, but it's fine. I'd rather see you guys' face up close.
Wow, that's an honor.
You're welcome.
That's cool.
Erin from Sinister Grin just posted in the Facebook chat that she'll give away a copy of her collection, Breathe, Breathe. One choice for another winner from Sinister Grin Press's back catalog.
Oh, cool.
Oh, perfect.
Very cool. Have you guys seen that movie on Netflix? I think it's called Tales of Halloween. It's like an anthology.
Yes, and I watched it this year. I don't know why I didn't include that. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, it was really good. I was surprised how good it was.
Because I think there's like 10 short segments, and honestly, I like 9 out of the 10. I can't remember the one I dislike. I usually skip over it, but it's good. It's not as good as Trick or Treat, I don't think, for like anthology Halloween movies, but I think it comes pretty close. I'm a pretty big fan. So,
isn't one of Keelan Patrick Burke's stories in that? Because I know he wrote for Tales from Halloween the comic, but I don't know if it was turned into an episode or not.
Oh, I know John Skip wrote and co-directed one of the segments, but I didn't know if Keelan did. That's interesting. I have to look at that.
Yeah, well Keelan had story in one of the issues. I don't know if it got turned into one of the episodes or not.
Oh, I don't know, actually. Someone Google that. Not any of us, but if anyone's watching, just throw on Google and see if you can figure it out.
If I open another tab, the entire thing's going to crash.
All right. So we do have a question. A few
Speaking
questions.
of Keelan, Timmy.
What?
Timmy Quinn series?
No, I haven't.
It's pretty good.
Sorry.
Like,
Is it?
I like Keelan's is nice. I don't know how else to say it. It's not pulpy like what I write. It's it's very lyrical at times. So
Yeah, Keelan's he's a great writer. I would put him up there with Lansdale in terms of voice. And I don't want to give him a big head because the last thing he needs is a big head, but he's a phenomenal writer. He's absolutely amazing. And we had a weekend here in Ireland. I was driving him from Dublin down to Waterford, where he's from. And I won't give away any details, but let's just say that weekend could have lived up to something from a Hunter S. Thompson book.
Jeez. Now you have to give us the details.
No. I will be killed.
All right. We have a question in our Facebook page. Chad Scanlon, good friend Chad Scanlon. He writes, what horror movie was your scariest viewing experience? So, Patrick, I'm going to put you on the spot. You can take that one first.
Okay. So anyone who knows me or knows of me probably knows that I'm kind of a big Freddy Krueger fan. So I would go the original Nightmare on Elm Street just because my parents let me see that when I was like 5 or 6, which they should not have done. But I was terrified of it to the point where for about like 2 weeks straight, I had Freddy Krueger nightmare every night. And I remember the last one of this like 2-week span, for whatever reason, I was being chased by him in my kitchen. And he picked up a toaster and started moving it around by the cord, and he hit me in the wrist. And I woke up with a bruise on my wrist, so I was like, "Oh my god! Like it's true, Freddy Krueger really can hurt you." And then I stopped. Like I was creeped out to all hell by him. I would not even mention him. And then I kept having the nightmares off and on, and I decided like I had to watch the rest of the movies to like kind of cure myself of the fear. And then I just became obsessed with him. So I remember in like 1st or 2nd grade, I got yelled at by one of the teachers for telling everybody who Freddy Krueger was, and they were having nightmares. So I'd go that, and the only other thing that I can think of is In the Mouth of Madness, because I love that movie. That's my favorite Carpenter film. I think it's his best. If you don't agree, fight me. But that one too, I had nightmares for like a couple days after seeing it, because I think I was only like 8 when it came out. So those are the two that come to mind. So.
Cool. Matt, what about you? What's your favorite horror movie viewing experience?
Favorite or most scary?
I think you wrote most scared, but yeah, scariest viewing experience.
The scariest one was when I was a kid, similar to Pat. Correctly, I was left with friends of my parents when I was really, really young to be babysat. And they left the TV on, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I was probably about 6, I would say. I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a movie left playing on the TV. I think it was like Sharktopus versus something else, one of those ridiculous sci-fi movies. But I was 6 and groggy, and I just woken up, and that's the first thing I saw, and I remember screaming my fucking head off. I think that would probably be my scariest viewing experience.
That was last week?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Chuck, what about you?
What about you, Tim?
Let's see. The first movie that scared the absolute shit out of me was Werewolf of London. What's it? I forget the guy's name. He was in like Tommy and stuff. So and hate me now, but I turned on the TV, which is a little black and white TV in my bedroom. And on the UHF channel, they had Werewolf of London, and I watched it at like 2 a.m. And I basically crapped myself. That kind of started my love affair with horror. But the movie I think that scares me the most, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I still soil my pants every time I watch that.
I'd agree with Chuck with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I feel like it's one that still freaks the shit out of me.
Fun, visceral, and possible, I guess, because I've been to Texas, and there are some lonely, scary places there. I love Texas, though. If there's any Texas people.
I do remember there was something else that really scared me when I was a kid. Was an episode of the X-Files where a guy eats brains. Do you remember that one?
I used to watch X-Files like off and on, but I was never like a Superboy fan. So short answer, no.
That one and the Inbreeders.
Hmm. Yeah,
and the fluke in the toilet.
Oh, that's great. I just always remember that episode with the guy who he's talking. For the beginning of the episode, he's describing what brains taste like, and he's a tongue that like shoots out of his mouth, and ooh, it's a really creepy one.
Typical Saturday night for me.
All right. Oh, so yeah, my experience. Let's see. I'd have to say The Grudge, which isn't a great movie, but I remember seeing it in the theater when it first came out, and it was all like 13-year-olds because I think it was a PG-13 movie, and 12-year-olds and 11-year-olds, and like it was one of those movies where it had like 100 jump scares in it, and they were all kind of effective. Mm-hmm. Especially in like a loud theater, and everyone was jumping like the entire hour and a half. It was pretty. It caused me to jump, and I don't usually jump in theaters when a jump scare hits the screen. So I think that was probably the scariest theater experience for the theater. And then at home, I don't know, maybe like Jaws, when I saw Jaws for the first time, because I was probably like 8 years old and I was watching it on television. And that movie kind of scared me. I didn't go in the water for quite a while after that.
When I saw The Grudge, it was on opening night in the theater, and it was during one of the jump scares. Like I think it's towards the end when the little kid comes out of the closet, like he pops out of the closet. Which weird terminology. I'm not even going to touch on that Freudian slip, but he jumps out of the closet, and then the screen goes dark, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And the theater was like broken, like something was wrong with their like projector or whatever. So the guy gave me a free ticket to come back and see it, but then it ended up working again. So he couldn't take the free ticket back. So that movie gave me a free ticket really for no reason. So The Grudge will always have a soft heart.
That actually makes
Patrick,
me think
I'm sorry, go ahead, Matt.
No, you go ahead.
A stupid question.
I was just thinking, because The Grudge, that what classic horror movie have you never seen?
Oh, like to this day?
Yeah, because I've never seen The Grudge.
Would we call that a classic? I don't know. That's a good point.
I think I'd say it's like a modern one that most people have seen.
I know, speaking of Texas Chainsaw, I hadn't seen that in its entirety until like 3 years ago. It played that new like 4K scan they did. It played One Town Over for me. And Gunnar Hansen was there, the guy that did the original Leatherface. But I had not seen that until recently. But that's the only thing that popped up, and it's a completely bogus answer because I have seen it. But that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know.
So Patrick,
I have to think about that.
Nightmare on Elm Street. Which movie is your favorite?
So I go like the kind of the obvious like fan favorites. So I go 1, 3, which Wes Craven did not direct, but he helped write and produce. And then Wes Craven's Voodoo Nightmare, I absolutely love. So those are my top 3 favorites. And then I don't know, I can kind of take 2, 4, 5, and 6 in any order. I love the whole series. There's no film in the whole catalog that I dislike. A lot of people dislike a lot of them, but I think it's pure gold the whole way. But I'd go 1, 3, and for my top 3.
First at 3 first, and then 1 because again I'm dating myself. Docking.
So good, so good.
I was rocking the mullet in high school.
On a weekly basis, I look on eBay to see if I can get like a good used copy of that record, but everyone always outbids me. I've never been able to score one. So if anyone has one in the group chat thing, please just send it to me for free.
Record?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Real quick before we continue, I'm getting a lot of echo. I don't know about you guys, and it's kind of hard for me to hear. Does somebody have the volume up on their YouTube? Anybody? Anyone? You guys?
No, I don't really.
I don't know.
I don't have YouTube up.
Weird. Okay.
Mine's fine.
All right. Let's see. Nick Andrew asks, what books or stories of each other's do you guys really like?
I've got one straight away from Pat, and it's from Sleep Paralysis. It's that story about the, what's it called?
Oh, yeah. Send Your End.
Yeah, I absolutely, that's one of my favorite short stories, period.
Tell me more. I really like it. That, funnily enough, is the first short story I ever got published. Little trivia for all 7 of you. I'm trying to think. I recently read Matt's short story collection. I can't think of what it's called right now. So what is it called?
Brain Dead Blues.
Brain Dead Blues. The one where I don't remember the title, but it's like the kids and they're like involved in a cult, and then like the parent or like they choose like one of the kids to get like sacrificed, and there's like a thing on the radio. Am I screwing that up? It's like towards the end.
No One Gets Out Alive, the one that's set in the 50s.
Yes. That like genuinely creeped me out. Like I thought it was funny at first, and 3 pages in, I kind of had this like, oh, okay. And then I still have Tim and Chuck's books like readily available over here that I have not read. So I'm going to cite both of those if you haven't read them. So
I just finished Tim's Sharkwater Beach, which I loved. I got it off at Scariest. That's a really good one.
Thanks.
And I'm just going to use the bathroom really quick. 2 seconds.
Yeah, see right there.
Whoa, look at that.
And then Chuck's is like right over here. I can kind of go off frame a little bit. And then see, just to prove to everyone that you have.
Look at that. It's so shiny.
It is a little too shiny, actually. I don't know. It looks stained, too. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I got to move to matte covers, but I use the yeah, it's a good question because I have all of that, but it's in my TBR pile, so I have not read them yet. Timmy, on the other hand, I've known Timmy a lot longer, and I really like the Thin Veil, but In the House of Mirrors is my Beach is very good too. I think is the best one that I've read so far.
Thanks.
Which, of course, you at every goddamn show with that thing.
That one sells pretty well at conventions, which you get mad about.
Yeah, it's got a great cover. People just walk up, pick up the cover, and they're like, "Oh, what is this about?" And then they look at you and they go, "Oh, what is this about?"
That's funny. For me, I think Chuck, Chuck, I like Pay Up and Die. I think that book is phenomenal, which I know you disagree with, but I love that book. For Matt, I really liked What Do Monsters Fear? I thought that was a really cool book. It kind of takes a lot of traditional genre tropes and kind of flips them a little bit, which I'm a huge sucker for. And it was a really cool story. And it deals with addiction and those themes that I also like to write about, and so I think that like hit a lot of sweet spots for me. And then for Patrick, let's see, I'll go with We Came Back, because I thought that was such a, oh, maybe Dreamwoods. I don't know. It's so hard. They're both so good. Maybe Dreamwoods, because that was the first thing. I actually didn't read it. I listened to it on audiobook. So I think that whole experience was really good. And, you know, it's kind of like a Goosebumps book, but on like crack cocaine.
You know, you had said that before, and I've used that at conventions to sell that book. So thank you very much.
I hope it works. Yeah, so that book is pretty phenomenal. But all your guys' books are great, so I would recommend them all.
Shucks.
You guys are so young and cute with the Goosebumps. See, when I was a kid in 1748, there was no Goosebumps. We had Hardy Boys, okay?
Yeah, I was gonna say you had Hardy Boys. I read Hardy Boys when I was a kid.
I did too, actually. I don't remember any of the plots, but I remember that.
Me neither. They're all a blur.
There's a series from Chuck that I really wanted to read. But, the like your Weird Western series, Chuck.
Yeah, the Son of Earp series.
Yeah, I really want to read that.
Oh, thank you.
I'm a sucker
I
for
like
Western.
that series. Yeah, I like, you know, I wrote that series because I wanted to kiss up to my father, who was a child of the 50s, and wanted to be a horror writer, and you know, horror. So it didn't impress him too much. But he is a huge. My father probably reads more than anybody on the planet. I think he finishes like 8 books a day, and he's a big Western fan. So I said, "Oh, I know how to get on my dad's good side. I'm going to write Westerns." Even though I know it's a small niche, and he actually reads the books, and he likes them. So, right.
That's cool.
I always wanted to tackle a Western horror. And that's actually a really good question. What's another genre you would like to put with horror?
I'd go crime. And mainly because the thing that I've written with Mr. Matt Hayward is a little bit crime-ish. And then the thing I just finished up, it kind of tests the water too. So I think I'm kind of working up. Very nice. I think I'm working up to like maybe like 75% crime, 20% horror instead of like the other way around. I can't do math. So I would say crime. Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
I would say young adult Western. I don't think, you know, I don't know. When you think of like what's not, I think Western is like a hot genre. Oh, maybe urban fantasy is hot. How about this? Young adult Western. Oh,
mic drop.
For me, I'd probably like comedy, because I like horror comedy movies. So I would maybe want to do something, even though I have humor, I think, in some of my books. I would like to do like a just strictly comedy book, but with like horror elements in it.
Like a Jeff Strand.
Like a Jeff Strand, something like that.
What this brings up a good question in my mind. The only one that I'll have all night is what's your favorite horror comedy movie?
Oof.
It's tough.
It is tough. Slither was on today, and even though that's maybe not like a traditional horror,
you think that's a comedy?
I think it's hilarious.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that one, but also Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Yes. Yep.
That movie it's hysterical, and it's every horror fan's like, oh, it was just a movie that was made for horror fans. So
there's a scene in that movie where he's one of the guys is, I forget if it's Tucker or Dale, they're interchangeable. He's working a chainsaw, and he accidentally chops down a a beehive.
Yes.
So the bees are all around him, and he's running around with a chainsaw, and the people who are there see him, and they think that he's like the psycho killer. And I don't think I've ever laughed harder than that, except watching like old weird home movies of me, which I don't want to talk about.
All right, so there's a few more questions in the queue.
What about Shaun of the Dead?
Oh, Shaun of the Dead's great too.
It's a good one.
I think. You ever see Brain Damage?
Oh, yeah, Dead Alive.
It's Dead Alive here, Matt. So
yeah,
it's fine.
No,
I knew what you're talking about.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Brain Damage by Frank.
Oh, Henenlotter.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a good one too. I like that one. I like Frankenhooker better if we were going that route.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that's a good one, yeah.
All right.
Give us some questions, Timmy.
I got questions. We got questions. Nick Andrew writes, favorite and least favorite Laman novel.
Ooh. I'd go Night in the Lonesome October since I already mentioned that. Oh God, that's a tough one. Think. I'd go Traveling Vampire Show. I think that was kind of his go at like a coming of age novel. Matt actually shipped me the headline version recently, which was very, very nice of him. And then worst one, I know he had a lot of ones that was like that were released posthumously, and I think No Sanctuary is one of those, and it reads like two completely different novels like pasted together. So I remember like I read that like 4 or 5 Laman deep. I was still pretty new to him, and I remember I had liked all the novels prior to that, and then I read that and I was like, what is going on? So I think I would go No Sanctuary as being my least favorite by him. So
for me, it would probably be Night in Lonesome October, but I also really like Darkness Tell Us for some reason.
Is that the Ouija one?
Yeah, it's the Ouija board, and then they go to the woods, and there's that psycho guy. I don't know. I really like that one for some reason. And but maybe even more than that, Funland. I really love Funland.
So good.
I just named like 3 favorites, and for least favorite, I don't really have one, because I haven't read everything he's written. But I think he did like a Jack the Ripper one, and I don't remember the name of it, but I remember not liking that one. So whatever the name of that one is.
For me, it will be In the Dark. I think is my favorite.
Is that the one? Is that the one where she gets like clues on little paper, and then she like gets bigger and bigger rewards or whatever?
Exactly. Yeah, she has to kind of find the clues, figure out the puzzle, and then she gets a bigger amount of money each time. Dark is my favorite, and it just gets ahead of the Traveling Vampire Show and Nights in Lonesome October as well. And I think my least favorite would be the one where the rain affects people. Do you know that one? I think it's called
One Rainy Night.
Yes, that's the one.
I've not read that one.
I think that would be my least.
Okay.
Chuckster?
Yeah, I mean, he pretty much has a lot of good stuff. I was just looking through my list. Ark is probably one of my favorites. I didn't like, what was it called? I don't have it in front of me. In the Cellar or The Cellar or something?
Oh, The Cellar.
The Cellar.
The Beast. Isn't that a few books? No.
That's like a 4-part series, I think.
Yeah.
What's that?
I think it's a series, so it goes The Cellar, The Beast House, The Midnight Tour, and then Friday Night in the Beast House, I think is that series.
Yeah, I read The Cellar, and I didn't realize it was. I pretty much stopped because I don't remember. I read it so many years ago. I don't remember what it was exactly. I just remember that I couldn't connect with the plot or the characters so much. Odd. And I haven't read the other 2. I didn't even realize it was part of a trilogy. So, maybe I'll have to revisit it and see, you know, all these years later.
Cool. So, Eric Smith writes, in honor of Matt's "What do monsters fear?" My question is, what do horror authors fear? It's a good question.
Patrick Lacey.
He's pretty scary. Just look at him.
Same for me. I would go flying. I mean, I used to have like a really bad fear of flying. I did not get on a plane until I was like in college, actually. And I deal with it now. It's fine. Like I don't have to even be like drunk or medicated or anything, but it really, really frightens me. And like if I can get past takeoff, I'm fine. And like in the air, I'm fine. Landing, I love. But the seconds leading up to takeoff, I get so frightened. And I don't know what it is. So I'd say that or bees because I'm allergic. So that's kind of a boring one. But
yeah. For me, I'm not really afraid of spiders, but I don't like them to a point where I kind of psych myself out and I get afraid of them. So it would probably be spiders or gas station sushi. So,
oof. Have you ever actually had gas station sushi?
I've had like ShopRite sushi, which is like a step up.
Oh God, okay. You're a braver man than I.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not good. I don't recommend it. Matt, what about you? What do you fear?
Heights. I'm awful with heights. Anything over 2 stories.
Thank God you're not tall. That would be very frightening.
Chuck, what about you? What are you afraid of?
Everything. No, I
heard you were.
I
was gonna say I heard you got scared at a haunt in Sleepy Hollow last weekend. Do you want to talk about that?
And where'd you hear that from, Hunter Shea? I am afraid. Earlier, Jaws. I with getting in the ocean, so I just I'm afraid of sharks, and it's funny because I'll swim in lakes and canoe and kayak and all that, but be under the water, if the lake is deep enough or dark enough, but I'm still afraid of going in the ocean, and I'm basically afraid of any time that Frank Edler is around me.
I would agree with Chuck on that. And like dark deep water scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, that movie, was it The Reef, I think it's called, where it's just shot, or is it Open Water? I think they're both kind of the same idea. It's just like shot in the ocean, and it's so that those movies are scary. They're frightening me.
Yeah, it's funny. The whole fear of heights, but somehow I'm drawn to it. Like if I go in a tall building, against the glass and try to look all the way down, and I get that pit in my stomach, like I'm gonna stick and upset, but I'm drawn to looking down. It's like a weird fascination.
That's awesome. All right, another question we have from JC Walsh, our good buddy JC. He writes, what horror movies inspire your writing? Chuck, why don't you go first?
Ooh. JC is awesome, by the way.
JC is awesome, by the way.
Not too awesome, though. I don't want him to get like full of himself, but yeah. I don't know. You start that one, Tim.
You want me to go? All right. Well,
yeah.
I write a lot of sci-fi horror kind of like mashup. So for me, it would be The Thing is huge. Like The Blob, movies that are like that, where it kind of mashes up the sci-fi horror genres. But definitely The Thing is probably the most influential movie on me. So, Patrick, what about you?
I'm going to cheat a little bit and cite the Nightmare series again, just because I think a lot of my writing is like a little bit cerebral. A lot of people have said like the characters in it act just a little bit off from how like a person in everyday life would be. So I think that would make sense from all like the weird nightmare, surreal type things going on in that series. And then another one would be In the Mouth of Madness, which I already mentioned, and also Event Horizon. Even though I don't do a lot of like sci-fi type stuff, I think that movie again has like a weird surreal type dreamlike vibe, which I kind of try and get to in a lot of my, at least my novels. So off the top of my head, I'd go those 13 or whatever, how many of those are.
Matt?
Yeah, I'd agree with a lot of John Carpenter stuff, and then there's a lot of 80s B-rate kind of stuff. 80s B-rate stuff for the more gory action scenes. I always like the over-the-top, like Evil Dead kind of stuff when it comes to action, but then try to wrap it up in a bit more. Ideally, I would like to write an 80s B-rate movie with good character development. That's my sweet spot. I suppose a lot of Peter Jackson.
Chuck, do you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, I guess. I think my kill scenes born of, you know, the 80s slasher, like Friday the 13th aesthetic, trying to be and weird way of the horror elements of my writing come more from physical aspect, maybe more like Eyes Wide Shut or film, but that of plot subtext of sexual not innuendo, but like sexual tension, as well as real psychological thing about who you are and what's going to come and what's going on. So I don't know. That's kind of weird, isn't it?
No comment.
Oh, nice.
When you're writing, do you prefer the more psychological aspect of horror, or do you prefer the more action-based visual side?
Good question, Matt. Read more of the action. You know, I want to see the kill. I want to read the kill scenes, and oh man, that's tough because I do love Lovecraft too, which is more of the dread feeling. But you know what? I'm gonna stick with my first answer. I think I really like more the in-your-face slasher kill scene type horror, that the shock value. But my writing, I think, is more on the psychological side. Yeah,
so you prefer to read more visual kind of stuff, and then
right.
Kind of stuff. Yeah.
Excellent question. That's tough. I had to think.
That is a good question.
How about you, Matt? Turning it right back at you. Did Matt freeze?
Oh, he's back.
Did I get cut off?
A little bit.
Sorry. All right. So what about you, Pat?
I didn't. Did you actually answer and you were just frozen because I did not hear an answer?
Did I answer?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I think I prefer to write the psychological stuff. I find it more interesting, but I prefer reading over the top stuff. Definitely.
When I like set up I kind of like to like a to read list for the year in January, because I make everything a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. So I'll like purposely do like something atmospheric and then something gory. So I'm kind of like all over the place with that. And then in the last couple of years, I've been like a huge fan of weird fiction. So like in contemporary weird fiction, I'm not a huge H.P. Lovecraft fan, as Matt knows, because we did a panel where I kind of tore into Lovecraft for about 20 minutes, and the guy sitting to my left was not a fan of that. But so people like Laird Barrett, Paul Tremblay, John Paget, stuff like that. So I think my my own writing has kind of been like a little bit influenced by that in the last couple years. But in terms of reading, it's like all over the place. It's a smorgasbord. It's awful. I don't know why I put that much pressure on myself, but that's why I have high blood pressure, is for that very reason. So yeah.
For me, I think my strength is kind of action and like the gory stuff, so I tend to gravitate towards that. But I do enjoy, I think, the psychological aspects more. I just, as a writer, I think I'm better at the action kind of, the big budget type of Hollywood style setups. So I kind of write more of those things. So. We do have more questions. If you guys want to answer a few more,
Please do.
All right. Summer Cannon asks, as horror authors, what do you think would be the greatest way to die? Like, how do you want that newspaper obituary to start?
Big bang. That's it. I don't care what happens after this. Big bang. Lots of screaming. Destruction, maybe.
Like an asteroid landing right on your head. I think that would be kind of pretty cool.
Exactly,
So that obituary would start, an asteroid landed on Tim's head and pulverized him into nothing, to powder. That would be pretty cool.
It would be, yeah.
And I wouldn't feel it, which would be the best part. Like, I wouldn't suffer or anything.
Well, actually, there's a new study out as of last week that says after you die, your brain is still aware that you're dying. That is actually true. You can Google that. But I'm wondering, like, if the world blows up and you're just like incinerated, I don't know if that also pertains, because your mind is just going to be particles floating in the ether.
Pretty much.
You might know that happens. I don't want to jinx it. I'm just saying if we blow up tonight, that could be an option.
Gotcha. I'll take that under consideration.
Okay.
Chuck, what about you? How would you like to die? What would be the greatest way to go out?
With an erection?
What? I didn't hear it. What is
Sorry. Nothing. Sorry, Summer. I think I would like to die as I was hunting in the woods. I would like Bigfoot to come and rip me down out of the tree stand and tear me into shreds.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'd also like to be found with something unexplainable on me, like a pack of butter and a toy dinosaur, and just have people try to figure out the mystery.
That would be fun for the people who then have to write the obituary.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
Holy shit, that's great.
That sounds like a lot of my weekends. A pack of dinosaurs.
Typical set.
I actually said that because one Sunday I woke up after the pub with a pack of butter and a toy dinosaur in my pocket. I remember.
I had a similar thing where I woke up after a really bad hangover. I did not remember. I lost like 6 hours of my life, and I had a little toy of the red Power Ranger in my back pocket, and I still to this day don't know where it came from. Not that has anything to do with my impending death, but yeah. So
was it the flippable head one where you could like spin like the?
No, I have that from my childhood, but this was like one of those little like miniature ones, like probably like a Fisher Price type thing.
Like a not as good one.
No, it was kind of if you're gonna have a Power Ranger figurine in your back pocket, this was definitely like the sub tier one to have. Unfortunately, so.
It was probably like the one they gave away with a McDonald's Happy Meal or something.
That's what I would think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. So John Quick writes, following your movie writing theme, considering the success of adaptations like Brian Smith's 68 Kill and the new version of Stephen King's It, what novel from the Leisure Zebra era or later would you like to see adapted for the big or small screen?
That's a great question.
That is a great question. So I'm going to let Matt go first.
Let me see. I think I'd go for I'd go for The Rising. excellent modern day sort of mashup movie.
That would be a great summer blockbuster. Just like a huge, like Michael Bay movie, but don't let Michael Bay do it. But
or Jeff Stone's Twilight. I think would make a really good one. Or I have a third one. Hold on. Simon, what's his name? Vampiric by, what's his name?
Simon Clark.
Yep.
Simon Clark, that's it. Vampiric by Simon Clark.
Patrick, what about you?
Okay, I would go, so like, I'm a huge Josh Mallerman fan. I'm going to go modern day, because he said or later, I believe. So I'm going with it either way. So they're making Bird Box into a movie with Sandra Bullock that's going to be on Netflix, which I'm psyched about. But he has a novella called, I think it's House at the Bottom of a Lake, about this like teenage couple who is out on a date type thing, and they're on a canoe, and they're all having a good time, and they see like what looks to be the roof of a house, and then they dive down and they find a house at the bottom of a lake, as the title says, for no reason. And then they start exploring it, and they get scared and they run away, and then they kind of get almost like addicted to finding out what's in the house. So I think it would be a very cool kind of like psychological thriller type thing. I think you'd have to do it with a very low budget. I wouldn't want any CGI in it. I don't want like a Pixar style house. But I would love to see what like a low budget like indie filmmaker could do with it. So I'd go that off the top of my head.
Chuck, what about you?
Oh, well, my favorite from the Leisure era was Edward Lee. Anything that Edward has written, I think, would be great up on the big screen. I'm not sure if it was through Leisure at the time, but probably my favorite Lee is either Creekers or Backwoods.
Backwoods was truly. I have that edition. It's a very good one.
That was Leisure?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to say Backwoods then.
Cool. I don't know if it was Leisure, but I read a book by Tom Piccarelli recently, The Choir of Ill Children. And I think that would make like a phenomenal movie. So weird and creepy and very offbeat, but also like Southern Gothic. And I think that would lend to a pretty cool like independent film that could also be comedic because it's kind of funny in parts, like very dark humor. So I think that would actually make for a pretty cool movie. I don't know if you guys have read that book.
I have not. I've only read one thing by him, and it's like I think it's called The Walls of the Castle. It's from I want to say it's Dark Regions Press. It's a novella, but I absolutely loved that. But that every time anyone talks about any sort of horror book, that comes up. So that's kind of like a gap in my an embarrassing gap in my reading history. So I need to fix that.
Yeah, it's really good. Everyone should read that.
Another one I tried, Sarah Pember's Breeding Grounds, about the giant spiders in the London Underground. Have you read that one?
Oh yeah, that's one of her first books, I do believe, right?
Yeah. That's a really good one. That would make a good movie.
Was she on Leisure too, or no?
She was for a while, yeah.
Yeah, the Breeding Ground were definitely two Leisure books, but I always imagined the guy who played Charlie from Lost as the main character from Reading.
Cool. Yeah, I'm reading her Behind Her Eyes right now, and this is actually the first thing I've ever read from her. So
I want to read that so bad.
It's I'm only halfway through. It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's excellent one. Yeah.
Cool. I think we're caught up on questions. Do you guys have?
By the way,
else?
John Quick has really luxurious hair.
Yes, he does. Yes.
It's so long.
And he's a lovely man.
And he blew my friggin' ass apart in NaNoWriMo last year. So, John, stay away from me this year in November.
Thanks for clarifying, Chuck. The first part of that sentence was pretty sketchy.
It would have been great if you just cut out because of that anyway.
Let's hang there.
He blew my ass.
Oh man, are you guys doing NaNoWriMo? Do you guys do that?
No, I've never done it. I think it's great, but I'm like a nan-no-yero. Like, since I'm writing all year round anyway, I don't know if that it would be. Did I get that right? Nan-yo-rero. I think that's right. But I think it would be kind of overkill because I already, don't have much free time anyway because of the whole writing thing. That I would literally just implode. So.
Yeah. No, I've got a novel that I'm trying to finish up that I might use in order to wrap it up. I'm on like a final 19,000 words. So I'll try to do it this month.
I've tried doing it in like 2014 and I failed miserably. So I'm gonna try to do it again this year. I have the final draft of something I've already written. That's about 50,000 words. So I'm gonna try and bang that out this month. So I can just be done with that and move on to other projects. Chuck, what about you? I know you're participating this year, right?
I wasn't going to because last year I blew out my hamstring. I wrote 65,000, and then I didn't write for like 2 months after that because but now Armand is making me do it this November, so I'm doing it again.
True. Cool. All right.
Good question. What have you ever written a scene that you thought was too silly to pull off?
Too silly to pull off?
A bit too much, a bit too B-rated or over the top. What made me think of it was I was reading Benny Little's The Resort piece last night, and there's a scene in it where the main character, she looks out a window and she sees the gardener do a dance on the lawn, and it's silly. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it works in a way. But have you ever written a scene been just a little bit kind of like, oh shit, will this work?
I kind of get that feeling after every scene I write. Like, I don't know if there's anything like specific that I thought was just way too over the top that I didn't think I could pull off. I mean, Sharkwater Beach is kind of like a B-rated like sci-fi movie type book, and I think some of the scenes in that I think are a little over the top and kind of crazy. So maybe something in there while I was writing, I might have had that notion, but nothing specific I can think of off the top of my head. What about you?
Me, yeah, there was one scene in What the Monsters Fear that I thought was just a little bit too far. It was when I'm going to probably ruin the premise of What the Monsters Fear, but Phobos, the great god of fear, he can possess bodies, and there's one point when the cat goes missing, and you know what's happened. And at that point, I was kind of thinking, oh shit, this might be a bit too much.
What about you, Chuck? What about you?
Over the top? Well, I know what you and Frank are going to say.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We can't give
like,
that away.
I wouldn't
though,
consider any of my stuff to be, well, I wouldn't consider my stuff to be over the top, but I've gotten feedback from people that some of the scenes are. But the one scene that I'm talking about is in Pay Up and Die, and a lot of people speechless. So
it's pretty messed up there.
Because I don't want to. No spoiler alerts.
No. Yeah, you're messed up, Chuck. Pat, what about you?
I mean, there's a scene in Dreamwoods where there's like a haunted vending machine. So if anyone's read it, they probably know what I'm talking about. And people who have read that always cite that as the scene as both being like the most ridiculous, but oddly like the most creepy scene of the book, which I take pride in. So that's kind of something I try and do with each book is because I'm, like Matt said, I'm a huge Bentley Little fan. I think he's kind of a master at taking. Say that again.
That very scene reminded me a lot of Bentley Little.
Oh yes, Yeah, I don't know. He's just like a genius at taking these like really, really, really bizarre / funny things. But for some reason, at least for me, they actually get under my skin, and like the sillier they are, the more they creep me out. So I try and put at least 1 or 2 scenes like that in all my books because I just think he's like an absolute like master. He's like a god amongst men. Like even mentioning his name is kind of like Cthulhu. Like we can't even do him justice. Even though I don't like Lovecraft, so that joke doesn't really fit. But I would go that scene, yeah.
Nice.
Bentley Little is my hero when it comes to social media, though.
Yeah, he's so active on Facebook. He can't even keep up with all his statuses.
I hate Facebook. That's why I keep saying that 2018 is going to be my Bentley Little year.
Okay. I can respect that.
Do you think he actually exists? There's lots of rumors that Bentley Little isn't real.
Well, there's a lot of rumors that I've heard he's Stephen King. I've heard he's Dean Koontz. I've heard he's Brian Keene. I think he's not even real. Like I think there's just some sort of weird like DOS program that's just writing all his books from like 1993, and that's why they're so weird. That's my theory, at least. So,
there's Bentley Little called the author. Had all these books that got written without an author. It sounds like Bentley Little.
Let's see. We do have a few more questions if you guys want to continue.
I'm good to go for a few more hours, man.
Yeah, there's left, so let's go.
I mean, if we're doing hours, I'm going to have to refill my beer, but if it's just a couple minutes.
I'm 3 beers down and I have to take a piss. I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay.
I'm right there with Matt. I'm going to go grab another beer, and then so you guys answer the question. I'll come back.
I have a little story about a fox.
Oh, no, we're not doing the fox. We're not going to do the fox. We're just not going to do that, Chuck.
Pick up some demented.
All right, yes. Chuck. Chad asks, what villain or monster would you be friends with? And you can't say Armand Rosamilio.
He is a monster. What monster would I be friends with?
Yeah. Or villain. What horror movie villain? Like maybe Freddy Krueger. Okay. Like maybe you want to be friends with Freddy or Jason.
There's 4. So Michael Myers, I would want to be friends with. The Face or the Mask or whatever. I don't want him. I don't want to see him in between my laundry hanging on the line out back. So I'm going to say him, and I'm also going to say Jaws. Swimming in the ocean again.
For me, it would probably be Freddy Krueger. I think Freddy and I would be good friends, and plus, like the ability to control dreams and that whole thing is always kind of. I've always kind of fancied that idea. So, Matt, someone asked, what horror movie villain would you be friends with? If you could be friends with a horror movie villain. I took Freddy Krueger. Yeah.
So when I went to come back into the room, my doorknob fell off, which is kind of cool. So I now have to deal with this after this ends. So that's great. So I hope everyone appreciates that.
You don't know your own strength, Patrick.
No, I don't.
So Matt, what horror movie villain would you be friends with?
I'll have to think about this one.
Okay, Pat, what horror movie villain would you be friends with?
Okay, so everybody probably thinks I'm going to say Freddy Krueger. So I'm going to go the clowns from Killer Clowns from Outer Space because while they're sinister, they're just trying to have a good time, and they like cotton candy, which I can respect. So I'll go them.
Yeah, I'd also go with Critters because I've had guinea pigs for years. I meant to be similar.
Cool. All right. Sorry, I'm just going through there's a few more questions on here that I'm going through.
Bring them on.
That's awesome.
Let's see.
We should thank everybody for joining us, because this is, where else can you join people and drinking great fucking beer? I'm sorry, can I curse on this thing?
Yeah, it's true.
I haven't cursed once.
Great.
Matt's been cursing all night.
No, have you sworn once, Matt?
I think I have.
Cool. Fuck yeah.
I'm getting a text from my mom. She said, "Stop cursing."
All right, Mike Lehman or Lyman, I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but he says, hi guys, growing up in the 60s, I fell in love with the Twilight Zone on TV, and even at 7 years old, I wanted to be a writer. At what young age did you guys know you wanted to be a writer? That one's pretty easy, because I'm sure Patrick and I have talked about this before. Goosebumps, when I was in like fourth grade, like third, fourth grade, something like that. And those books kind of made me want to become a writer, and actually inspired me to write my first novel, which was like 6 pages for a school project. And it was about a group of students, and I was one of them. And we crash landed on an island that was occupied by dinosaurs, and they all tore us to pieces.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
Life finds a way.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, probably around the fourth grade, I kind of had the bug, and it kind of remained steady throughout my entire life in different variations. At one point, I wanted to be a comic book writer. At one point, I wanted to be a screenwriter. And now I write novels. So, Patrick, what about you? So kind of similar experience?
So I'd go Goosebumps. I'd predate that a little bit with comic books. I was a really big comic book fan when I was a kid. I've kind of fallen out of it, although I do still collect like back issues. So like immediately to my right, so stage left, I have like some old school like horror type comics and like Toxic Avenger, early 90s stuff. But I was really big into Batman and Spider-Man. Spider-Man especially because I think there's a lot of like gooey monster type villains with that. So I'm thinking like Venom, Carnage, all that. So I would draw my own comics and then come up with like awful scripts and speech bubbles for them. But then came prose with Goosebumps. And I think in third grade, I wrote a novel called Curse of the Scorpion, which was like a Goosebumps fanfic thing. And it was just about a girl who gets a scorpion. It's cursed, but like I didn't have the wherewithal to make it like that sinister. So she just started having bad luck. So like, for instance, she like failed a test the next day. And then all this like kind of like mundane bad stuff started happening. So that was the best book I've ever written is what I'm saying. It's been all downhill from there. Yeah.
I've heard so much about this Cursed Scorpion book that I think you need to finish it.
I actually have like toyed with the idea of like doing it as an actual book just to lay it to rest. But I don't know if anyone's afraid of scorpions in 2017. I don't know what like the ratio of people is. So I don't know.
Matt, what about you?
I think it was my first introduction into like modern horror would have been, and I found a copy of Pet Cemetery. It was my sister's copy, and I read it from cover to cover. Like, guys, I grew up in a steady diet of Goosebumps as well. But I used to have this TV in my bedroom that we only 2 channels in Ireland back then. There was channel 1 and 2. I had this thing in aerial over my bedroom door, which is the only way that the reception would come in. So I used to stay up all night watching things like Goosebumps and Twilight Zone. I'd watched later. But funny enough, I think the thing that made me want to write horror was early Twilight Zone episodes. Rod Serling, how he composed a narrative. It was just fantastic, and I read that more for the writing rather than the entertainment value. And it was the first time I saw when I was watching someone that there was a writer involved. So I think it would have been a mixture of Goosebumps and, yeah, early Twilight Zone episodes.
Cool. Chuck, what about you?
Well, first of all, I have to say, Mike, you rock because you're my age. So private message me at Chuck Buda on Facebook, author Chuck Buda. I'm going to send you some shit to read for free because you're my age. Second of all, well, I started, of course, I cut my teeth on the Hardy Boys going back to the old days. So, like, I just remember the Clue in the Embers scared the crap out of me, even though it's more mystery than horror. Fucking head scared the shit out of me. So I really like that. But I think I really wanted to become or think about becoming a writer when I got into, shortly thereafter, the Hardy Boys. I got into Ian Fleming and I know that's not horror, but those novels, when I had the old 60s versions with the or whatever, and the action and the suspense was just like killer. And of course the books are better than the movies. So, and the movies were great. You know, I mean, I love James Bond movies, but the books were incredible. And so the first book, the first novel that I wrote, I was 12 years old, and I didn't finish it, but it was a James Bond knockoff, and the protagonist was Todd Blackledge, because I remember seeing like the quarterback from Penn State's name TV or something. I was like, oh, Todd Blackledge, that sounds good, you know. So he was my protagonist in a James Bond type thriller novel. But when I started to think about being a writer, and then of course I discovered Dean was my first book, and an Edgar Allan Poe with Telltale Heart and The Pit and the Pendulum, and then, you know, from there on it was just everybody. So I don't know if that answers it, but Mike, private message me your address. You're getting some shit. Jeez, man.
Mike wants you to repeat your address so he can write it down because he missed it.
Yeah, can you say that out loud for everyone?
This is not my street address. Oh, yeah, it's author Chuck Buda. Just look up Chuck Buda on Facebook. I should be the only one. It's kind of a weird name, so.
Gotcha. All right, I think we have time for one more question. And we're not going to answer Frank Edler's question where he writes, do you guys have any fish books? I like fish books. We're not going to answer that. That's an inside joke.
Creepy.
My answer would be no. So.
All right, last question. Nick Andrew writes, since Patrick isn't a Lovecraft fan, which classic authors are the rest of you not a fan of?
Ooh.
I'll go first.
Excellent questions.
I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, but I know you guys have professed your love for Bentley Little, but I actually am not a huge Bentley Little fan.
Right. Signing off now. Thanks.
I know it's terrible. I read maybe like half a dozen of his books, and I have trouble getting into them. They start off kind of slow, and I mean, they're okay. I don't like hate his books. I like a lot of his short stories in the collection. But as far as his novels go, not a huge fan. So
I respect.
That says it all.
I respect you.
Pat, calm down. All right.
Don't hurt me, Pat. Don't kill me.
Wow.
Patrick, what about you? Besides Lovecraft.
Besides Lovecraft. Oh God.
If you could throw maybe another name out there.
I'm thinking of someone classic that I don't like. I don't know. I can't think of any other embarrassing ones. I think I like all the greats. What are we talking about? Because Bentley Little is fairly contemporary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll just change the question to like a popular author then. Maybe that if you can't think of any classic authors, maybe like a contemporary author who everybody loves, but You just don't.
I feel like this could go so poorly. Can you guys go around and I'll like look at my bookshelf right
Yeah. Yeah. Chuck, why don't you go?
Dean Koontz. I'm sorry. If Dean sees this, I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with you personally. As a person, I'm sure you're a great guy. Hate your fucking books. I hate them. People are either like Stephen King or Dean Koontz fans. I can't stand Dean Koontz books. Sorry. I really am. And I know I'm no one to throw darts because, you know, I'm a newer published author and stuff, but I read several of them and I just could not get into them. And I know Armand always yells at me. So Dean, you have a fan in Armand Rosamilia and he always argues with me, but I'm a Stephen King guy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was great. That was awesome.
Very
Matt, how do you follow that
guy.
I don't think I can. Let me think. Jesus, Chuck.
I hate your fucking
we erase
books.
this?
Got so angry there for a second.
No, I didn't mean to get angry. You know what? I've tried just about everybody, and I just couldn't get into them. So it's just not for me. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
Try his books because everybody should try everybody.
Well, for me, Pat and I spoke about this on a panel that we did with you, Tim, that both of us kind of think that Lovecraft is a little overrated. I like his mythos. I like what people have done with his mythos. Prose don't cut it for me. It's like, 2 pages of describing how the moonlight shines through the trees just right on a frog for 2 pages. And so Lovecraft is a big one for me because I love his mythos. I just don't like his prose. I'm done with his mythos. It's kind of like Bob Dylan for me. I hate Bob Dylan, but I like when people cover him.
Yeah.
I'm with Matt on that one.
Yeah.
I'm with Matt on that one. The cover songs, like on the Bob Dylan benefit thing, were great.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it.
Come
You
on.
sound exactly like him, Chuck. It was almost exact.
I think I formulated an answer, but does it need to be horror or can it be anything?
I don't think it needs to be specifically
Okay.
horror.
2 words for you. Harry Potter. Hate him. I hope the kid
Whoa.
dies. Yeah, I hope the kid dies prematurely.
Damn.
Yeah, no, he sucks. Now, the thing is like, I tried so hard. I think the first book came out when I was in 5th grade, and I read it then, and I was like, this sucks. I don't need to be a wizard, right? And then I think I read up through the first, 3 or 4 books, and I just cannot get on board. And I know, I'm probably the only one in the world who feels this way. I have met a couple people who agree with this. But so if you like the books, if you're into him, that's awesome. I love it. I'd rather, people champion stuff that they like. But since we're being so candid and since the question was popular author, J.K. Rowling, I respect you. You're probably more talented than I'll ever be, but I just hate teenage wizards, and I hope I don't hope he dies, even though he's a fictional character, but at the very least, I hope he gets an infected hangnail, and it just hurts for a very long time. I cannot stand him. So fuck you, Harry Potter.
Damn. I actually like Harry Potter a lot. Jeez.
You would.
Wow. All right. Again, so you like Harry Potter and you don't like Bentley Little. Why am I still on the air?
I don't know.
Guys, this is the send and just drinking, and I think we should keep it going.
I think so too. Here's where we totally go off the fucking rails.
Oh my God.
I'm good for another 4 hours. So,
Damn.
Tim, I'm gonna start. You're a little kid and you're a pussy, okay? Harry Potter is for 5-year-olds, okay?
No. Technically, he's for middle grade students, to be fair.
Beer talking. again.
Oh my god.
Sorry, Matt's like covered his face.
We have to keep this going for at least another hour, and I've got a question to kick it off. What is your peeve in horror writing? Do you have a thing that when you see an author, do you go, oh, fuck that guy or girl? That's
a really good question.
Wait,
so did you say like a pet peeve that we don't like? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a tough one.
Well, I kick it off because I have an answer straight away to why I asked it.
Well, please then.
Okay, go ahead.
My one is when authors try to politicize their novel straight away. Like, that's why they wrote the novel, was just to preach their political position. That annoys the shit out of me.
That's a good. I would say, to bring it back to Dean Koontz, I think he can get quite preachy, especially in his newer novels. But if I'm gonna choose one, this is kind of a weird one, but like I feel like in a lot of novels, there's like these malevolent like female creatures, and they always seduce the male main character, and he's just automatically like, yes, I want to have sex with this ghost. So I'm kind of sick of seeing that. I'd like to maybe see some gender reversals in 2017. Or another one is teenage wizards, to bring it back. I'm sick of it. I want an adult wizard for once. So.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, you can't avoid horny guys who want to have sex with ghosts. I mean, let's face it. We'll have sex with anything, okay? Even if it's a ghost. I mean, that's just guys. So you're going to see that in any book. I'm down with the teenage wizards. Fuck you, Potter, and fuck those teenage wizards. I mean, everybody's a goddamn wizard these days. Really? So.
Oh my lord. I don't know if I have anything specific. Probably the political stuff too. I'm not like a huge politics person, so anytime someone gets too preachy on the political stuff, I kind of get turned off by it. So that's a good one, Matt. I think I only have time for one more question. So Matt, what do you got for us? Make it a good one.
My fiance just walked in. She's crawling around the floor to try to avoid being on camera.
Hi, Anna.
So,
oh, hi.
Hi.
Okay, places that I know. Hi, I know you. I know you.
You don't know me, and you're better off. Trust me.
Hi, Chuck. Why is your voice changing?
You laughed too hard at that, Timmy.
Well, it's because it's true.
Okay.
All right, gross.
Oh, I want to kiss.
We have another question.
All right, one more question. What do you got for us?
Me? I'll let somebody else do it. I've been asking them for a while. Pat, come on, your turn.
Okay.
Yeah, come on, Patrick.
All right. First of all, your tone, it needs to be uplifted. Second of all, okay. Favorite, just shout off some of your favorite short story collections. How's that?
Short story collections? Ray Bradbury's October Country. Solid. Let's go Night Shift, Stephen King.
Yep.
Blue World, Robert McCammon. And that's all I can think of right now. Under the Gun.
Wow. Okay, I'll go next since I put you on the spot. We already mentioned Bentley Little like 16 times in this, but I'd go The Collection by him. I would go Peaceable Kingdom by Jack Ketchum. I would go In the Meantime by Paul Tremblay, which is, I think, his second short story collection. It's so darn good. And then for a little bit more recent stuff, not that that's not recent because that's like 2011, I would go Laird Barron's Occultation. I don't know if I'm saying that, but it's the word occult with Asian after it. those off the top of my head are some of my favorites. So
I would go with
Matt?
Robert McKee's Blue Worlds. Definitely Stephen King's Night Shift. I think this is best. Then Little is the collection. Dreadful Tales has some good ones in it.
that's a good one.
And Brian King's short story collection, Volume 1, the Blood on the Page, I think it's called. Off the top of my head, that's all I can think of. Oh, no, and Joe Hill's 21st Century Ghost.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
So good.
I like that one a lot. Chuck?
You know, I'm not big on short story collections, believe it or not. To talk about Stephen King, I would have to say, and I don't know if they're considered novellas or short stories. I consider them short stories, is Different Seasons. And then, and I know everyone's going to make fun of me for this because I'm like kissing up, but I actually like Armand Rosamilia's short story collection. So, name any of them off the top of my head that I own, and I like those, and one of them being the Keyport Cthulhu, which they're short stories that become a sort of story or mythos set in Keyport, New Jersey. So those, but yeah, I'm bigger on novels as opposed to short stories.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't know about you guys, but this was really fun. I had a good time.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, same time for sure.
I'm gonna pick one random person to receive our little package of books, and I'm gonna go with, this is completely random, Nick Andrew. So Nick, if you're watching, and I hope you still are, email me at tfmeyer3@yahoo.com, and I'll hook you up. So you guys have anything else you want to add? Anything you want to plug?
Well, why don't we plug what's coming up and what we're working on?
Go for it. You got it.
So Sunday, I've got Horror Expo Ireland. I'm doing a reading with Ramsey Campbell at 7 p.m.
Who?
For people in Ireland.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, who's that guy? Yeah, Ramsey Campbell. I get to do a reading with him on Sunday. And then I've got Practitioners coming out, which is a collaboration with Pat. I've got a collaboration with Brian Smith coming out about the Biolords. Coming out called The Faithful. And I'm just finishing up another novel called From Up Here.
Cool. Patrick, what about you? What do you got coming out?
So I have Bonesaw coming out. I want to say the first half of 2018, though I have no evidence to back that up. But that is about sort of like a movie monster come to life, and this very seedy director who's making some ritualistic sacrifices actually recorded in his movies. And then next summer, again, I want to say July. I don't know why I want to say that, but I'm pretty sure that's the month. Practitioners with Mr. Matt Hayward. And then the thing I just finished up was a novel, first draft of a novel that's kind of like the Babadook, tomato, meets Blair Witch with a crime bend. So I'm going to be working on the second draft of that probably in a couple months when I finish some short story submissions up. So that's what I got going on.
Chuck?
Let's see. Well, I'm working on of items. The most recent thing that's coming out will be Middletown Apocalypse 3 with Jack Wallen and Eric Shellman and Armand Rosamilia and all kinds of really great authors, Becca Besser, a whole bunch of other names. And that's coming out in November. Basically, zombie apocalypse short stories based on a heavy metal concert at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. So that should be pretty fun. And I'm working on a lockup series that I have on Caged 4 and 5. And I'm also working on the final book of the Gushers trilogy called Tourniquet, and the 4th book in the Son of Earp supernatural western series called Desert Fangs. So following travels through the U.S. Should be fun.
Damn, you guys are busy. I don't have nearly half the amount of stuff coming out that you guys have. But I am finishing up the 3rd book in the Demon Blood trilogy. Hopefully I'll have that out before Scares I Care next year. That whole series is getting a revamp, so it's going to have all new covers. It's going to be a little bit different. And then I have a few things out subbed that I haven't heard back from yet, or a few verbal commitments that I can't talk about yet. So, but hopefully some good things happening soon. So hopefully I'll have more info in the coming weeks. But that's it. That's all I got. So I want to thank you guys for doing this. Thanks, Matt, for setting this whole thing up. I thought it was really cool. And thanks everyone for coming out and watching and participating. It was awesome. We had a lot more people than I thought we were going to have. So
thanks all.
Cool. Thank
This
you.
was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Bye.